We're live.
Apparently, okay, I'm going to go ahead and we'll start up the pre-roll here. And howdy, everybody. It's June 19th, 2018. I'm Steve Sande from Apple World Today, and this is Mr. Marty Edwards from Apple World Today, and we're here on AWT TV, episode 42. Marty was just commenting on how long we've been doing this. This is scary.
Yeah, almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
Started out with audio only, and everybody was demanding to see our faces.
Said we've got to see your faces.
Now they're demanding we go back to audio only.
Well, it's funny because one of the topics I'm going to discuss tonight is podcasting and some possible changes to the AWT News Update podcast. Because anyway, I'll discuss that later. We'll just discuss that at a future time.
I read a good review of a podcast app today. What was it? Begin with an A, I think.
That's exactly the one I'm going to be talking about.
I almost downloaded it.
It's very, very good.
I can't even think of the name of it. I was unfamiliar with it.
It's called Anchor, and I think we'll definitely. Well, let's just put it this way. I think it's going to have some interesting use in the future. So, not for this show, not for this one. It only does audio podcasts, but. For audio podcasts like the AWT News Update, I think it might just work really, really well.
That sounds like a good idea. I read about it, and I read a really good review somewhere. I don't even remember where. I think it's on our site. Didn't you write about it today?
I had a little blurb about it.
No, I remember where I saw it.
No, it was somewhere else.
Apple's App Store tweeted about it. That's where I saw it.
Yeah, it used to be iPhone only, and they just came out with now it's iPhone, iPad, and I saw this and I went, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then,
well, that's odd that you and I both thought about that today.
Well, we may as well discuss it because it's because you brought that up, and I've been playing with it all afternoon, and
well, I'm actually very interested in it, so.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's from if you actually want to, learn more about it, they have a website at Anchor, like the thing you throw off of a ship or a boat to kind of anchor yourself to the bottom of the ocean or the river you happen to be in. But it's anchor.fm. And the interesting thing about it is I think I'd heard about it in the past and just kind of went, it's another one of those networks. I didn't realize that they had this really, really good podcasting app. Now, just to give you an idea, when I do the podcast every day today for the AWT News Update, it's a real pain in the rear to do because early on, and I'm not going to say anything bad about any of our listeners on there, but early on somebody said, it'd really be handy if we could also have a readable version. And I said, that's possible. So what I started doing is I'd write a script and then read the script, and I'd use the script for the written part of the written post. And what I find is that that's a heck of a lot of work. I've got to do my research for the podcast, write up a script, record the podcast. It goes through about 3 post-processing steps. I then upload it to Libsyn, which is what we use for podcast hosting. Then I have to write a post on the website, and grab all this stuff and kind of throw it in there and get that out. And with all that work, and let's just say, we could use more listeners. It's not bad. I got to admit, I've got a lot of subscribers to that podcast, and we get a lot of downloads, but it could be more. It could be better. And it also occurred to me that there's another problem with it. First of all, there are some days where I'm really scraping the bottom of the barrel to get content for even a 5-minute podcast. And I'm sitting there going, hey, I can't find anything, because our site and the other sites cover a lot of news. Sometimes I rehash, but kind of look at things with a slightly different viewpoint on the podcast. Other times I've got stories that we didn't cover on the site, but it's really, really difficult getting in there and just talking about Apple-related things. So today I see this app, and immediately I had these ding, 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 alarm bells going off in my head, different from my tinnitus that normally is ringing my ears, but kind of said to myself, there are some real advantages to Anchor.fm. First of all, they've got an app that pretty much does it all. You can record, you can actually get other people on the Anchor app and have them join you for a multi-person podcast. So you can do, have multiple people coming in and record them as well. They've got a complete library of little sounds, intro sounds, transition sounds, different things like that. If you only publish on their network, Anchor.fm network, and don't put it out onto Google Podcasts or Apple Podcasts, you can actually, if you have a, I think it's, I can't think of the name of the other one there, but it's, if you have Apple Music, or what's the other big?
Is it Spotify?
Spotify, thank you. Yeah, if you happen to have one of those subscriptions, they actually have an agreement with Spotify and Apple Music, where if you wanted to go in and you wanted to say, oh, this has always been one of my favorite songs, and you wanted to play the complete song from beginning to end, normally you're going to get killed because you're going to have a license for that music, even for one podcast, because 5,000 people could listen to it and they're going to hear it. And hey, those musicians need their income off of it. I don't blame them. So what they do is they hold the license for Apple Music and for Spotify. And if you happen to use any song on there and you happen to also be a subscriber and you're only posting that podcast out there on the Anchor.fm network, you get free usage of it. So you could add, like, I'm going to play, this song at the end of this because I really like the song, and you could do that type of thing. That's also cool. There are some other features of it, and I'll probably even do a demo here in a minute. But besides doing the, recording, being able to get multiple people in there, you can also, if people have the app and they're using that to listen to the podcast, they can also leave messages and say, hey, I really liked yesterday's edition, but I think your story on such and such was really biased and stupid, and Steve, you ought to bang your head up against a concrete wall, or something like that. They could give that kind of feedback. And I can look at that feedback, listen to that feedback, and I can say, that's a great comment. I'm going to put it on the podcast. And you can include that in your podcast as well. Then you can upload it. It goes to, I think, like I said, Google Podcasts. What was the other one there? Anyway, Apple Podcasts, and then their own network. All the recording's done on an iOS device. All the editing's done on an iOS device. I think you can also do it on a web-based front end. But I was just really, really impressed when I saw the tool. It was like suddenly I'm looking at something going, this does everything. And to be honest with you, I'm sitting here thinking, I may expand the daily podcast I do, make it, not have the written copy that I put out there every day, because that takes me a heck of a long time to do. And just, if people want to join me, they can record with friends. People can leave voice messages and feedback on it. And I'm seriously thinking of jumping to this pretty darn quickly.
Yeah.
Would you like to see a demo?
Oh, I'd love to, because this really has my interest. Like I could join you on a podcast if we wanted to discuss some late breaking news, like after an Apple event.
Exactly.
We could get on together and do. I think I'll probably download it as well. So I read that even Apple will host these podcasts too. So there's not a fee, is there? Like with Apple?
Well, with Apple, it's absolutely free for hosting. Well, I take that back. They really don't host it. What they do is they host your feed. In other words, they get the updated feed and they pass that out to all these people. Hosting is an entirely different matter, because somebody actually has to store the file. They have to be able to create a feed from the files that are being put out there. And Anchor does that. Anchor provides the feed. Anchor does the hosting. They don't charge anything for that currently. And yeah, I know it's a drop in the bucket, $15 a month, but right now I pay $15 a month for Libsyn. And we don't make that much money on this website. So even $15 a month is a big difference to me. So that's a big deal. Yeah. I'll have a lot of questions. I'm sure even if we take the whole time, I'm really interested in this and joining you on some podcasts, or even if I don't hear it live, I could add a comment later and you see if it's worthwhile, you could insert that in, right? Yeah. And then I can say, and by the way, yesterday we got a comment from Marty who said, blah, 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 and I play the thing. I think this is one of the coolest tools for podcasting I have honestly ever seen. And
I'll probably download it after the show. And then I started to today. Isn't it odd? We both were thinking the same thing today.
Yeah.
My wife actually asked if we were brothers or something with all of our other common interests, amateur radio and weather stations and various things.
Sometimes wonder if we're somehow related, because did you ever have any relatives that lived in Alabama?
No, we're pretty much we're Kentuckians way back. I think even before the North America was settled, we've always been here.
Yeah, my dad's side of the family, my dad's mother was from Alabama, and strangely enough, we do have a lot of background in the South.
Yeah,
and I just need to go in and start looking at that again. I actually traced it back to the late 1700s, but I didn't find out where everybody lived and died and did all that stuff. But that could be an entirely different episode.
Could be. Well, I just read over it quickly. I didn't give a very deep look, but I thought I saw that this podcast can transcribe to text for you.
Yes, it can.
Okay.
And that was the other thing that just, I saw. I went, that's incredible, because, well, it can only do up to 3 minutes of transcription, if I remember correctly. They don't want to do like a full, 25-minute podcast or something like that. But the good thing about that is, and I've got to play with it, but if you could take a 3-minute piece of an entire podcast and say, please transcribe this, that's a good piece of article that you can throw in to whatever the heck you want to call it, like an article or a post about it on the website. So that's cool.
Well, even if it didn't work, play it into, because you can import files into that app you reviewed a few weeks ago. Just press record. It will transcribe for you. So absolutely.
Speaking of which, I use that, and I love the fact that you brought that up. I was at a meeting about, I think it was the same week we did the last show on Monday night, and it was about drones and being able to fly them or not in some local parks. And I went into that meeting and I thought, I'd really like to get a complete transcription of this entire thing. So I had my iPhone there. At the beginning of the meeting, I just subtly went in and started it up, recorded the entire thing, and then I just let it sit afterwards, overnight. And sure enough, I had probably about 90% legible transcription of all the questions and answers and comments that were made that evening. So I thought that was really pretty cool.
That's enough to piece together, to report on it or whatever you want. So,
yeah. And, being there, the context of some of the questions and you go, that's not right. But let me bring up screen mirroring here. And what I'm going to do is show you I'll just kind of show you the app. Like I said, I haven't recorded anything yet, but I am just so impressed with what I saw here. You're not looking for Apple TV. Come on. Trying to figure out why it's, okay, I'm on that network. And I may be on a slightly different network down here, so maybe that's why.
While you look, I was hoping to have a lot to report because I was hoping they'd have the public beta out by now. You may have seen in our Slack chat last week, Dennis and I were talking about we really need an Apple World Today developer account.
Yeah.
But at $99 a year, that's not something you would use very often.
Oh, here we go. Yay. Okay, we are on my iPad Pro here, and this is brand new. This is the iPad version of Anchor. It's a free app, and I kept expecting that there was going to be something in there, pay another $5.33 a month, and you're going to be able to get this or that or the other thing. But no, I can't find where they're charging for anything. So I think what they're hoping is that if your podcast gets popular enough, they can probably sell ads on it, and they probably make their living that way. I don't know. I still haven't figured that out. But as you can see, the user interface is really straightforward. You have 6 big buttons here. One that says record, another one that says record with friends. Record with your friends anywhere in the world. So it just has its own, voice over IP setup, so you can actually bring people in and chat. Voice messages, these are messages submitted by listeners to your podcast. Music, these are full-length tracks that you can add from Apple Music and Spotify. I think that's literally incredible because, for instance, if I decided I wanted to do a podcast on music from the 1970s, if I'm an Apple Music subscriber, I could go in and I could say, okay, we're going to play, I'm going to play this song and we're going to talk about it. And, here to talk with us today is Walter. No, he's dead. Never mind. I was going to say Walter Becker from Steely Dan, but he's dead. Donald Fagen from Steely Dan. And we're going to talk about this song, because that would, in my dreams, we'd be able to do something like that. Anyway, this next thing is transitions. These are transitions between segments of the podcast. And last but not least, there's a library of everything that you've ever recorded or uploaded. So you could go back in and you can say, remember 5 weeks ago, I talked about blah, blah, blah. Here's a segment from that show. You play a little 30-second segment from that show. Then you go back to the podcast. Incredible tool. Really, really impressive. And I haven't even started using it yet. Just looking at the workflow and the way everything's set up here, I'm totally impressed.
Well, that is impressive. Can you have, I'm sure you can, different shows like an Apple World Today, Drone Today, or whatever you want?
Absolutely. Yeah, as far as I could see, I think you have to have a separate account for each show. At least that's what I'm seeing right now. If I look at profile here, oops, I'm clicking on the screen and it wasn't doing anything. The show, I'm going to do a preview here, but I'm thinking I'm going to take AWT News Update and call it Tangible Tech. And the reason being that there's a lot more technology out there than just Apple products. And I think I can really do a heck of a lot better job, and we can get more excitement about technology by talking about things other than Apple. I hate to say it, Apple, I love Apple. I'm an Apple fan, have been for 34 years now. So,
maybe we ought to go to tangible tech today. The 3 T's. I love alliteration,
Triple T.
Yeah.
But you see that right there. And then you've got a thing for episodes. Well, I don't have any episodes. And we can look at, whoops, there we go. We don't have any episodes. Activity. As you see, this kind of gets into the social bit here. As soon as you start making episodes, you'll start getting listeners and feedback. That's where some of that feedback can come in. Hey, Bob from New York said, "You are the worst podcaster I've ever seen in my life. Why are you doing this? Love, Bob." And
yeah.
you can respond
with
to
love,
Bob. Yeah, with love. Account settings. You can tell I was starting to set this up here, but interesting because it is actually, a moth just flew by. That's interesting. Anyway, there's something in here for Apple Music and Spotify, Facebook and Twitter. So I think whenever you post something, it automatically sends that out. Podcast settings. Here we're talking about the name of the podcast, choose a new photo, all this other stuff. They will do Anchor logo on your cover art. So if you want to show people that it's on the Anchor network, it puts their little logo on there. Plus, they have a post roll, little piece that talks about Anchor that you can either have on each episode or you can throw it out. Anyway, kind of neat. Oops. And good. Explicit is turned off. That's a good thing. I don't do explicit. Podcast distribution. Look at this list here. This is pretty incredible. Now, most people are going to want to get on Apple Podcasts. You'll probably want to get on Google Podcasts just to be able to get that extra audience out there. But if you want your podcast on Spotify, there's a place for that. Overcast Network, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Radio Public, Stitcher, and TuneIn. You can have it. When you hit save, it's going to send that out. Down at the bottom here is the RSS feed, which you can put anywhere. We could put that on, you can put it on the website. Hey, if you want to subscribe to this, hit this RSS feed. Boom, you're going to be listening to it. So I'm impressed.
That's pretty amazing. Anybody could really make a podcast on anything and probably build up some listeners.
And that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. Hey, what's your weather app I saw on the screen a while ago? You went into one of the folders and I saw a radar. I digress a little, but I was curious.
Oh, talking about this little thing that's down here at the bottom?
Yeah.
That would happen to be.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm trying to remember the name of that one. I guess I better look here before I speak. That's a radar scope, which it has a annual subscription fee that's associated with it. But the thing I like about this app, you can pick different radars. This is what's going on in Colorado right now. It's actually calmed down a little bit from earlier. But you can get the traditional super res Doppler radar, which we're looking at right now.
I see the Edwards Colorado out there.
Yeah, that's a good name.
I appreciate you doing that. Yeah, putting that out there.
That's named after your family.
Yeah.
But you can get all these different things here, like super res reflectivity, precipitation depiction, which is this. The reddish and purplish areas are getting the most action right now. You can get composite reflectivity, which also kind of gives you that indication. You can change the angle of the radar, tilt 1, tilt 2, tilt 3, tilt 4. So if you want to see what's happening at different cloud levels.
I'm familiar with this app. I just never have purchased it. I've got so many.
This one, I've always loved it. Like this one, Digital Storm Total Accumulation. You can see since the storm started earlier today, where things are, these bands that seem to be getting more rain than others. So pretty cool stuff. Storm total accumulation. Let's look at that. Whoa. Yeah, some areas north of us ended up getting some pretty good sized hail for 2 days in a row now. So we are in the hail capital of the world. And you can tell Kansas is having all sorts of fun too, as you can see from these. And you can actually switch to the different radars. Like, I'm trying to remember how you bring those up, but for locations that do have a radar, yeah, here we go. So I can check for Kansas. K for Kansas. If I wanted to look at KICT, Wichita, yeah, we can look at, conditions there. One thing I wish they would do is let you do an entire country overview, because that'd really be cool. I mean, you can see stuff like this, but you can't see all the individual radar.
Well, I digressed there a bit. I just saw that and it caught my attention. So,
well, smart move. I mean, that was kind of a fun one to talk about, and I've been playing with it all day today, watching these storms roll through. So, I'm going to stop the sharing there and let you have a chance. I've been babbling away here.
I don't have anything compared to you. I was really wanting to talk about some of the new features in iOS 12. iOS 12 Beta 2 came out today, but developers only, not public beta. I don't have a developer's account. So $99 a year, it's not worth it. Only have to wait a few days. And so,
to be honest with you, it kind of gets annoying sometimes. This machine that I have right here, this MacBook Pro, I actually, run the betas of the existing operating system on it. And sometimes it just really goofs things up. Sometimes I wonder why I do it. But
well, I'm going to, I'm going to run it on my daily driver phone when it comes out, but I have a complete backup in iTunes archived. And, if you go into DFU mode, you can restore firmware that way. So, so that's what I'll do. And I've done that before. It's not hard to do. And so I think I'm going to give it a try, because I am really interested in Siri shortcuts where you can stack commands, say like Siri, I'm heading home, where it'll send a text to my wife, open up Apple World Today podcast, and, do multiple things like that. If it can do as much as I think it can, hopefully will do, that's going to be, for me, the feature of iOS 12. But
I think for a lot of people, it's going to be the feature.
Well, for the geeks of us, you should be able to really program. And for the people that are non-geeks, I was reading where a guy said he was texting a friend about meeting them for lunch. He was running iOS 12 beta. Suddenly, Siri came up and said, "This lunch looks important. Do you want to include it on your calendar?" And they had just been messaging about it. It was all they were doing,
Wow.
So people who aren't geeky are going to learn how that Siri can schedule things for you, and do. So that's pretty neat. A lot of people might be a little uneasy with it, but you can disable. You know how Apple is about privacy. I don't think any problem. So,
well, anyway. I tell you, that's the type of thing that I think is going to, kind of start moving the needle's been moving towards Amazon and Google now, and they need to have something like that will, take a look at messages, at different things that you're doing and say, wow, you seem to be blah, 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 blah. Would you like me to do X, Y, Z?
Right. Well, if it works the way I think it is, like I do try to, during the week, daily work out on a treadmill. If I could just say, "Hey, Siri, it's treadmill time." Hey, Siri just popped up. Said, "Hello, Marty." So probably can't see Marty. It there. But yeah,
I do.
And I forgot I had enabled HEYSIRI. I had to be careful what I say around the house. Well, my brother, who just built a brand new house, they live right next door to us and out here on the farm. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But we see each other very often because we live very close, and now literally just a few, probably no more than 100 feet apart, a couple hundred at most. And apparently he and I have the same voice print, because we were going somewhere the other day and I said, I want to show you something. I said, hey, Siri. Of course, there's mine just kicked in. Well, his phone responded, and I cannot get my voice not to make his phone respond.
Wow.
Yeah, and his will mine sometimes. So I really didn't think we sound that much alike, but it must be like a fingerprint. There's enough of a pattern there to show you.
I had to laugh the other day too. I was, I think I've mentioned one of the things that I use almost every day. When I'm cooking, I'll use Siri for a timer. And so the other day I was doing the old, HEYSIRI and, set a timer for, I think it was like 10 minutes. And not only did my iPad, which was sitting over on the counter there with the menu up on it, it went, it came up and set the timer, but my watch did at the same time. Oh. And I thought that was really odd because it seems like it normally will, pass off to one device or another. And it was really kind of surprising to have both of them respond.
Well, it is. And so I'm really impressed. Now, I hope by next week or 2 weeks to have a really good review. Sometime I'm going to do a review of the camera software I had written about. I'm going to share a screen real quick here. This is live video of one of our security cameras. Do you see what's going on?
I see a lot of cats.
There are cats on the porch. Oh, there was kittens. I hope that you could see them. We've got 5 brand new kittens. And so that is live to the world right there. But that's sort of a test.
Cam.
Yeah. I was hoping that we got a couple of really super cute black and white ones. I was hoping they would come out, and I may have to pop it in again. But this is sort of a test to see if I could just share one of the cameras. You see cat ears down there, and they're just wild.
There's another one.
Yeah, they're just wild feral cats that we put out water and food for. And there's more. They must have heard that they're on camera. So
we're on TV.
Yeah.
There's a little one.
Yeah, there's one of the new kittens, sort of a blue color. So, but I'll give a little shout out here. This is by a company called, it's called Bird, I think, was securityspy.com, Ben Bird Software. And I highly, highly recommend this for the Mac. And so I was hoping one of the other little black and white ones was come out. If anybody's watching their thing, if I want to watch kitten videos, I'll go to YouTube, but there's a little one right there. But that's live right now.
There's another one.
Yeah, now there's a little black and white one right there.
Oh.
And
hey,
yeah.
Package them up and send them out here.
Yeah, those but none of these, they just show up, but we feed them and put out water. But I tell you what, I saw a mouse belly up on the porch. They're doing their job. It's about 3/4 of a mouse.
Did they ever deliver them to you?
Well, it was on the porch. But this software is called Security Spy, and I wrote a review on it in Apple World today. And it is absolutely the best camera software I have ever used. It's recording that now, and as they move. And so that's all live. You're seeing live in Kentucky right now. So anyway.
Live, 7 cats, count them.
Yeah, 7 cats right there. I'll stop the share. But if I wanted to, go to another camera or anything, I easily can. So that was a nice little demo, and you got to see some kittens there.
That is really a cool app because you said you can do up to how many cameras?
It's unlimited. No.
Wow.
If you buy it, you would have to purchase. As a matter of fact, let me just screen share real quick that entire desktop, and you'll see all the cameras I have. Isn't it funny? We'll end up discussing things we didn't even think about we were going to do. But that's the way. Let me just share.
Actually, that's better than a scripted show, to be honest.
It is.
With you.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I've actually got about a dozen cameras, but I just got on this screen called 9. You can see the one I was just looking at. If I want to, if I want to pop that out, and you see the red M up there, it's actually recording. I've got it 7 frames a second. That's a pretty good move. They're all drinking water. It's really hot here right now. But go back to the others. You can see that's just another view across the front porch there of them. There, it's looking out front. That's where we have no lights. That's our garage. And you can see my wife's front of her car there. That's the kitchen. Television on. My mom is in there watching. That's our laundry room. You can probably see a corner of a washer and dryer. This is looking out north. As you can see, the sun is still going. We got a little bit of daylight left here.
Yeah.
And so that's looking out north. And this is in my wife's office. That's the reflection of the blinds. But if anybody's interested, I really, really recommend this software. One camera's not too bad. I think 16 cameras, about $400 or $500. It's pretty pricey, but the resources that it uses, I generally record about 9 to 10, maybe 12 cameras, 10 anyway. And if I do 1 frame a second, it only uses about 6% CPU. It's really small, very small. And this one's at another location here. This is out our church building looking out. It's in town. We're not. And, you know, there you're going to see somebody drive by, probably. I just got it 1 frame a second, but you see them
there
going
they go.
by. Yeah. So
Cool.
I have it at 1 frame a second. Kitty cam. There goes one of the kittens. That one we call Little Cloud. And so anyway, just a quick review of some of that. Let me just check about this software. If anybody's interested, it's bensoftware.com, B-E-N, just like the name bensoftware.com. And the guy is extremely responsive. You can post on their forums or tweet him a question, and he answers within a few minutes. And if you have any questions. And they really do a lot of security things. You just run it on a Mac. It only works on Mac. And as long as we're doing this, let me share something on my phone, because we'll probably get to that. I was starting to say I apologize for introducing a subject I didn't even think about, but that's some of the best things, isn't it?
Yeah, agreed.
And so I know if people watching later, dear Apple World today, if we want kittens, we'll go to kitten.com. But I'm just showing how well the camera works. And
cats, we've got cats.
Yeah. So what do I do if I want to access these elsewhere? Let me share my phone here real quick, and then show you a few things here. Take just a moment to switch from me to the phone. And it's funny, half the time I don't think about what I want to talk about, and then it just pops up. For some reason, QuickTime would not let me share the phone. Let me try again. Live TV, you know how it goes. All right, new movie recording. Make the camera source the iPhone. All right, there we go. Now we're going to share. Okay, you should be seeing an iPhone. Okay.
Yeah, I see it.
All right, on page 1, that security spy software has an associated app. It's at the top right corner. It is extra. It's an extra $5 or $6, but it's well worth it. I open it and I go to cameras. There's all the cameras right there that you just saw. There's the kitty cam from a while ago. Right there. As you can see, it's a pretty decent picture, you know. But let's say I'm somewhere, say I'm traveling on a trip. I'm out west, California. I'm home, and I thought, I forgot to turn on motion. I hit the M. You see it's not red. I hit M right there to turn on motion. I hit the A. That tells the camera to send me a notification if there's movement. The C is continuous capture, which I don't do. I just do motion. So that's all within that app. But let's say I'm there in California and I really would like to see what happened earlier. Well, let's just say that kitten was just walking on the porch. I wonder if it recorded anything. Well, I go back at 9:10. I see that there was some recording. Right there you go. See? That just recorded that because you saw that cat go off the porch. Yeah. And so, and you pull that up from anywhere. The server runs on your Mac. And, you know, here's probably where we were looking earlier, some of the kittens out there on the porch at 9:07. Yeah, there they are gathered around you know.
Yeah, the water bowl there. That,
Yeah.
oh God.
And so, that's
Cool.
really a neat combination of, the server on the computer plus the app letting me access live footage or recording. And of course, it saves as far back as you have hard drive space for.
What are you using for cameras? I mean, I'm just curious brand
Well,
and,
that's a good question. I have just a mishmash of cameras. I have some from 10 or 12 years ago. Any kind of IP or any kind of camera will work. But the cameras I have settled on now are Amcrest.
okay.
I really like the Amcrest cameras because, as you can see, this one, the optics are pretty good. Let's see. Well, you can't see it now. Let me, because I'm sharing my phone. Let me just go to it on the phone. Okay. Are you still seeing the phone?
Yeah.
Okay, it got behind a window here. So let me go to this camera here. This is one of their best. It's 3 megapixels. It may not be as clear, but see, I can zoom in, look at the brickwork. There's a
Oh,
fly on the
wow.
window,
There's,
so
yeah.
spider going.
Yeah. Oh,
And
no.
yeah, and we're getting some reflection, but there's a kitten peeping around the corner just for a moment.
Oh, that was
And
cute.
yeah, did you see it come around the corner?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did.
there's quite a few details, but this is if you look on Amazon, Amcrest, and this is a 3 megapixel camera. It's one of their fine, but it's about $90. That's
Oh,
not too
okay.
bad. And you can record. The camera has an SD card. Now there goes a cat. There goes one of the kittens running. You can see, and of
Here,
course
kitty.
I can move the camera if I want to. They pan and tilt. They don't zoom, but
So it's
so
using digital zoom rather than
it
optical,
is. That
right?
was digital a while ago.
That's still darn good.
Well, it is. Now there's the kitten going up to the water bowl. But I know I can see him better if I wanted to from this other camera. So let's try it out. Oh, he just jumped off.
He knew
He's
he's going, they're
oh,
watching me.
well, there they are playing. Those three are siblings, and they're out there just playing around. We're a very warm evening here. I guess it's still about 80 degrees or so. And you can see them out there leaping. That's all live. Now you saw that kitten jump off the porch. But let's go back and say, I really want to see that again. Well, I go back. Let's see if I got a recording of it. Sure enough, there he was pausing at the water. He saw his two siblings,
And
and
then
there he
boot up.
goes.
There I go. I'm going to go play.
Yeah.
That's
So,
cute.
So I'm glad we had some. I really enjoy the kittens on the farm, but also it gave a good demonstration of the cameras.
One question I was going to ask you about the Security Spy, the Mac app. Can you share that? For instance, if you wanted to do a 24-hour-a-day kitten cam on YouTube, could you do that?
Should you do that is the question. All right.
You never know that you could retire tomorrow.
Let me go to some settings here. I don't think I'll show a password. I may show an IP, but that's all right. Let me just take this camera here where the kittens had been right here. Let me go back. Let me stop share and share that screen again. Okay. All right, there you are seeing the software. All right, I go up here and Security Spy, and I go to Preferences. All right, many things you can do. I didn't even plan on doing a review. You can schedule the cameras to be up or down at any time. And I may have to send Ben Bird a link to this part because he's, he has tweeted about our coverage before. You can email camera snapshots. You can upload them to, FTP or whatever you want to, or the web. And so I honestly do not know if you can do a full-time stream or not. Probably knowing how that it is. You can you can set up just a port to view all the time, a server address. Probably, YouTube gives you whenever you start broadcasting, gives you that link to broadcast. You could probably put it in here, server address and path and your protocol. So you can actually add a server right there. that you want to
check
do.
the protocols down there. I was just kind of,
let's see.
Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. Upload protocol.
Okay, so it's basically three different versions of FTP, which covers a lot.
Right. So there's a lot you can do, and the cameras here, like the one that I call Kitty Cam, I can set up the things, the ports, and there's the camera. I can I have it enabled. They have to move for 1 second before it triggers it. I can set up the sensitivity. I can do masks. I have that masked out because I think early on there was a tree limb, a bunch of grass blowing, and I told it do not record that part of the screen. That's why. Can you see the green there?
Yeah, sure can.
I had masked that out, but I think I'm going to take that part out because I want to see more action in the drive. So I take a pencil and erase that. And so you can record audio, continuous capture, which I do not do, motion capture. When it hits motion capture, I want to do 5 frames a second. And then actions. I can have it play a sound, trigger another camera. They can email me, which I do quite a bit on things whenever we're gone and things like that. So, like I said, I didn't even mean to cover this today.
I'm glad you did. This is fascinating.
It's really good software, and the scheduling is. There's compression. You can have groups of camera, which I'd name one church or home. And so it can do, I know, a lot more than I'm even beginning to do, but I made some changes I won't save right now.
Yeah, I think that ability to do that masking is just absolutely cool.
Like they're having a meeting out there saying, I think it's record. Do you feel like you're being watched? So I assume you're still seeing this whole screen.
Yeah, I sure am.
And so there's a cat. Now this is looking out the front window. There's some cats out there, and you can see just heading off into the sunset, literally. And incidentally, I'll tell you, these cameras are not outside. These are all set on window sills inside the house. And so there's not really too bad reflectivity. Let me pull up let me stop sharing that and get back to the phone. Okay. Screen share, QuickTime. Okay, you should see the phone again. So let me go back a little bit and say, I want to see the front camera. My wife had gone somewhere tonight, and if I want to just see it's facing west, so I can just look at that. Okay, my wife came home. I see headlights at 8:23. Let me see what that was. Well, sure enough, you see my wife arriving home
pulling into the driveway. Yeah. Oh, cool.
So so there it is. I can go back and look. And that's at 7 frames a second. And then I'll show you a good daytime shot of something. Let me look at the camera out, the kitty cam looking out. Let's go back to something in daylight and just to show you the difference. I mean, it really does look good. And find some action. Here's at 5:12 p.m. You can see very bright. There's one of the big cats around.
Oh, the detail is excellent.
Yeah, that's only a 2 megapixel, and it is pretty good. Oh, let's see. I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, the detail is really good. Here's at 5:03. One of the other cats had come into the watering hole. You can see it looks pretty good. You can see our grass out there, and even at the top of the picture, you see a barn.
Yeah,
looking out across our yard. That actually is, I guess, one of the second best cameras. Let me just show you the best camera. Wrong thing here. Okay, I want to do the barn cam, I call it, because it looks toward the barn. All right, that was this morning. I went back a little far. Let's do some good daylight shots here. All right, let's see, 10:30 a.m. That's pretty clear.
Oh man, that's really clear.
Oh,
hey,
I'd opened the door. Yeah. Oh yeah. My wife had opened the front door. We have soybeans across the field, and they were spraying them for weeds today. So while they're spraying, if there's any wafting, we closed the front door. So when they were finished, we opened the door back. And that's why I couldn't figure out why I recorded this. But
so it saw the motion
of the door right there at the left. And it recorded about 10 or 15 seconds worth.
Nice.
So that's why it got that. So anyway, that gives you a little. You saw my wife coming home at 8:23. Here's the other camera that caught her. One of the little kittens was out there, and there she is coming in. Hey, Ruby, you're on Apple World today.
Hey, the one question I was going to ask is, with the recording, especially just doing it when, you see motion and just for a short amount of time, how much disk space does that take up?
That's a good question. I'm not really for sure. I tell it to leave half a terabyte free on here. You can do it that way. But it records easily weeks at a time, if you leave more. I don't mind just a few days. I don't really know exactly the size, to be quite honest, but I'll try to figure that out. But I think even the recordings, I can zoom in here. So let's, all right, she came home at 8:23. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I can zoom in. There's a little kitten waiting for her. And there she comes. And then, of course, I can freeze it or go back. And if you'll see at the bottom, I can send that to the Apple TV. And it record audio as well up here. But the cameras are inside. So I didn't even mean this to be a review of it. But,
this is absolutely fascinating. This is great stuff.
Yeah, I'll have to. Let me go back and show you the other. I'll try to get back to Zoom here if I can. All right, stop sharing that. Share the other.
You're doing the same thing I was. It's like, which window is it?
Yeah. All right, let me.
Somewhere here.
All right. Now, I can actually view them here. I was doing that. Now, that was viewed from my phone, so I could do that anywhere we travel. But let's take this camera. And I want to view, I can save an image as a JPEG and do a lot of different things. I want to view captured footage. So I go back on the count I want to do today at 8:23 p.m. And I hit play down here. And you can go faster if I want to. I think L's it. See, there's 2 times 4. And such like. And there's all the files. I can just click through. That was me out there feeding cats earlier. And so, all right, 109 was our latest, I guess. So I can go back. Let's go back Friday evening. All right, there we go, June the 15th at 10:02 p.m. I wonder what
we
happened.
had a party going on there.
Yeah. And see, someone went around the curve. It catches the road. Did you see that?
Yeah. So
that's what probably the cats triggered it. But there was a car going by and the lights got it at 10:02 p.m. So I can go back. You just click on the calendar where that you want. And I honestly don't know really to tell you exactly how much space it takes. But it doesn't seem to be a lot because you can really record a lot of video. I know that's not a very good answer, but I'm not for sure.
So the Security Spy app, the Mac app, how much?
You think he would care if I broadcast the site? I think one camera's 30 some. They do it by cameras. I'll tell you what, I'll just look it up. Yeah.
Actually, I think I may look it up here too, because you've got me.
I'm not sharing a screen still, am I? No. All right. If you go to bensoftware.com and hit purchase, that's their Security Spies, their flagship app. Okay. They list everything. Well, let's go to US dollars because they're in Britain. One camera's $43. Unlimited's $935.
Woof.
I have the 16 cameras for $431.15. But I want to, if he ever watches this, I want to give a good shout out to Ben. He gave me the software for free for writing a review of it. So
this is always a good thing.
Well, he asked me, he said, how many cameras do you have? I said, well, 10. he said, well, you need the 16 camera license. So he gave me a license for it. And
Nice.
I said, when does this license expire? He said, oh, it doesn't. You can keep it for good. So I was very thankful.
Oh, that's perfect. Well, and I tell you, the ability to, if you happen to be someplace and you just think, I wonder if that sprinkler's going off in the front yard or,
Right.
something, the ability to pull up that camera and just take a look and say,
well, you can.
What's going on there?
Yeah. A black cat jumped off the porch. I wanted to show you when I hit registration about it, just to, if you'll see, this software is registered to Marty Edwards review code. And so I had to, one thing, he had looked on our site and it was registered to Dennis Sellers. So I had to contact him. I said, I know it'll work just fine. I said, but you've got the wrong name in there. So he said, oh, I'm sorry, Marty Edwards review code. And so, for what it's worth, this software takes such few resources that MacBook Air I bought from you runs it perfectly. So it really does a good job.
Well, what I'm thinking about is, I've got some security cameras and around the house, various varieties. But the biggest issue I've got with them, a lot of them have been things that I've reviewed, and a lot of these cameras, it's not the camera that they're trying to make money off of. They're trying to make money off of the service.
Right.
And that is ridiculous for some of these cameras. So
there's no service here. Yeah, you have your own server. This is on the Mac Mini. I'll show you one other little neat thing that I may have to review sometime. I didn't know what I was going to talk about tonight for sure. Now I'm going to run out of time. You see the camera you see where it says north? It's pretty dark outside right there.
Yeah.
I bought a Wi-Fi light socket for outside. I've tested a little bit with it. I've got an app on my phone here, and let me pull it up and I'll show you the app in a minute. It's called, all right, it says the light's off. I'll just hit and turn the light on. It may take a moment, but you see the light just came on outside?
Yeah.
And of course, I'll turn that light back off for right now. Matter of fact, I'm going to bore everybody with kitten videos again, but I want to show you what I can do with the cameras. I'm actually using another app to do this, but it'll work just fine. Those three are siblings. They're all drinking at the same time. Let's say I want to turn that way a little bit. And let's move the camera. I went a little too far.
Nice.
But I think I had that spot saved as spot 1. So I go right. And I can see that the garage doors are closed, though I do have a camera in the garage right now anyway. So
nice.
Yeah. And it runs on the Mac Mini 2014 version. It takes such few resources. As a matter of fact, right now, let me pull this up and see on the activity monitor.
And the bad thing is I'm pulling up the Amazon app to start looking at Amcrest cameras, because I've got some really old pan tilt zooms that I got years and years ago, and they were such a pain to set up.
Yeah, those Amcrests are nice. Yeah. Well, I'm going to share again here because I want to show you what's over here. If you'll see the activity monitor, now it usually runs in the single digits, but I put 3 cameras at 7 frames a second to get a lot more activity. That's where the most activity is. But I'm recording. Oh, let's see how many cameras I actually have right now, because I don't have them all on the screen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 cameras. I think one's out of service right now. So let's say 11. And as you see, Security Spy, well, it normally runs around about 11 to 13%, which is not bad.
Yeah, never dropped down there. Yeah.
Yeah. And
12.8.
If I make them all 1 frame a second, it will go down to about 6 to 7%. And that's not bad. Yeah.
Zoom is definitely a CPU hog, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Right there. So, but I leave the camera software running 24/7, It records. I can pull up. One of the first things I do every morning when I wake up, and I've gotten in such a habit of doing it, I go back and just scan all the cameras overnight to see if there's anything unusual. I mean, more wildlife because, we'll have a raccoon come up on the porch, a fox. Some of our neighbors have reported seeing a bear, so I'm hoping to catch a bear on the camera.
Oh,
And
cool.
but I do that, and I do have my Mac set with no password. When it restarts, I have the password, hard coded in. The reason I have Security Spy set, anytime the Mac reboots, it comes up running. And like if
Oh,
we're gone,
nice.
and it comes up running, recording, so I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, so the power comes out or goes off or something like that when it reboots.
It'll come back up recording. I can access
Nice.
it from the phone, so I never have to worry about that. So what I'm going to do when I get a new computer, I'm waiting for the Mac Pro to see how it goes. I'm going to delegate this iPad or Mac Mini to just the cameras full time, nothing else. So
That's cool.
I'll have to find the part where we started, send our link to Ben Bird and tell him that I started discussing, did a, basic overview of this software on Apple World.
Well, and now I'm sitting here looking at it going, must have. Well, seriously, like I said, I've been, I've got a lot of cameras. I'm looking at them and I'm going, I really don't want to use this one anymore because if I do, I'm going to need to pay X number of dollars per year. I would love to just get my own cameras, have one of my machines set up as a server like you do, and be able to, sit there and record.
Well, with your iPhone, you can access them anywhere and really good control.
Yeah.
Like, say the cameras in the house, I don't have them set. Some of them, to send motion or to send notification. If I'm gone, I just log on, hit that A, it will send activity to me. And it is so handy. I used this so much when we were at JAMP, in Minnesota last fall. If Ben is watching, I really, really appreciate them giving me this software for the review, because it was between $400 and $500, according to at the time. I know sometimes you've sort of jokingly said, so we can pay this guy. There's a lot of pay on the side, where they give you some really nice things like this. And I will do a disclaimer. 2 of the Amcrest cameras was also given to me as a review on here. So
not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.
I bought 2 others. You recall I had reviewed a Synology, network attached storage device. And so they sent 2 cameras with it. And so I asked them about returning it. They said, I'll just keep it. Those are good reviews,
Yeah, it's funny, because we, like you said, we get a lot of things, where people will say, send it in. It's odd sometimes, because some companies you get a tremendous amount of equipment and they say, oh, just keep it, that old routine. Yet I've had other companies where it's something that's relatively inexpensive and they go, well, you are sending that back, by the way, and you're going to be paying for the.
Yeah.
Those are companies I just kind of go, if you really wanted to sell your product,
right.
Hate to say it, but you really should.
Overflow, Dennis was covered up with routers to review, so he sent me 2 to keep. So I wrote a review on both of them, I think. So that's what I'm using now, one of the routers he sent me. So, but I really highly recommend this software. Yes, it's expensive, but as the adage says, you get what you pay for. It is rock solid. It never crashes. It comes up running after power has been out, and you can access everything from your phone. And it's so quick. The server is so streamlined. They obviously have some really good coders there, because to be able to run 10 to 12 cameras at 1 frame a second, only use about 6% of your CPU is pretty good.
Yeah, as opposed to, like I was remembering one of my early experiments, and this was back in the 2A days, so it was probably late 2000s, 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. But I had a camera, and I don't even remember the name of the app that I was using. But, and of course, this is an earlier generation Mac as well. But that was just horrible. And the app, I think, had a memory leak problem where
Right.
it would do a really good job up until about the third day, maybe 75 hours or so, and then the app would crash. And so I ended up back. I wish I could even remember the name of the app, but there was a great app that was out there that would, let you do scripting by location on the screen and things like that. You could actually record mouse clicks and things. And I ended up writing a script that every 75 hours or so, it would just go ahead and it would reboot that app because it always crashed.
Well, I've done the same thing. I've had to do it, So, yeah, I was trying to think, if we were to get a lot of feedback, a lot of questions, I'd be glad to go over these with people, any of the things that questions they have. I'm certainly no expert on this application, but I have used it a lot. And,
and I was going to say, hopefully by the next episode, I'm hoping that I may have moved our AWT News Update podcast to the new hosting over at anchor.fm. So we'll probably have a lot more information about that too.
Yeah. Well, whenever you get this posted on YouTube, it's going to post live. I'm going to contact Ben Bird and tell him I covered your software beginning at 37 minutes into the broadcast,
Excellent. And I'm totally sold on it. I mean, seriously, that is some of the best security camera software I think I've seen. I want it.
Well, the thing is, you can throw any old camera on this. Some of them are pretty old, but they work. Some places I don't need good, clear optics. I just need to know, is this door closed or is this door opened? That just, yes or no. But those I have outside are very, very clear. And my mom does live with us. She's 87. I have a camera pointed toward her chair. I don't have a full view on her. I can just barely see maybe the hair on her head. And she knows it's pointing toward her. But I can tell if she's okay usually, or I can tell if she's gotten up and fallen if I were to be somewhere else. Hopefully that'll never happen. But it gives a lot of peace of mind there, so.
Yeah.
But just, I just like it when I'm gone. I can take a quick look. We were going to church Sunday night, I think. And I told my wife, I said, if you don't care, would you check the cameras to see if I did close the garage? And she said, she checked. She said, they're closed. But if they hadn't been, we have the Chamberlain LiftMaster. Just click the app. So I tell you what, after we get off the air here, I'll send you a link to the camera that I bought. And
sounds great.
Yeah, they're really good cameras. I highly recommend them.
Well, and while we're bringing that up, if anybody, I know a lot of you use Amazon, to buy different tech goodies and different things like that. And, the one thing you might want to do is there's a link somewhere, I think it's on the right side of the website, way down near the bottom. But basically, if you click on that, anything that it'll take you to Amazon. Anything you buy within a certain amount of time, we get a little tiny amount of money sent to us, very little. And everything we can get nowadays, we really need for the website. So we appreciate that when people either click on links that are on the site or go to Amazon.com from the site. That's about it for this week. Thanks for a great show. This was really a fun one.
Well, you're welcome. And it was totally unplanned. I pushed us a little over, but hopefully some good information there.
Well, and it was so funny because earlier today I was like, I put that comment out on our Slack room and I said, I think we'll probably do, a couple of apps here and there. And it was just after that I saw the bit about Apple and Anchor.fm. And I said, sorry, this is fascinating and I've got to talk about it. So
yeah, it works out.
Let's go for unplanned.
I think this was one of our best shows tonight.
I think you're correct.
Two big things there. So,
Well, I want to thank everybody for watching, and most likely this will probably be on the website. And we usually do it, usually put a post out the next day telling everybody where it is and all that stuff. Or you can just go to youtube.com/c/Apple World Today, and that will take you right to our channel, and you can watch it there. If you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and do so, and definitely be sure to visit the site appleworld.today. And for appleworld.today, I'm Steve Sande. This is Marty Edwards. Everybody have a great couple of weeks. We'll see you
July 3rd.
July 3rd. Wow, it's coming up soon. Have a great one, everybody.